The gunshot echoed through the penthouse apartment as Amelia Bennett, CEO of Summit Technologies, watched in horror. Her new bodyguard, the quiet man she'd hired just 2 weeks ago to protect her teenage daughter, threw himself in front of the bullet meant for her. As blood seeped through his shirt, his eyes locked with hers, not with fear, but with a strange sense of completion. "Worth it," he whispered. Just like that sandwich 20 years ago. In that moment, as sirens wailed in the distance, Amelia realized the homeless boy she'd once fed outside a Denver diner now lay dying to save her life. 20 years earlier, on a bitterly cold Denver night, 19-year-old Amelia Mason hurried through her shift at Dottie's Diner. Feet aching, but smile never faltering. College tuition bills were piling up, and every tip mattered. As she wiped down the counter for the 5th time that hour, she noticed him through the frosty window. A teenage boy huddled in the alley, thin jacket pulled tight against the biting wind. Their eyes met briefly before he looked away, pride warring with hunger on his gaunt face. When her shift ended at midnight, Amelia counted her tips, $47.35. Enough for her textbook if she skipped lunch for a week. But something made her pause. She ordered a turkey sandwich and coffee to go, adding an apple pie on impulse. Outside, she approached the boy carefully, setting the food down beside him without ceremony. "It's getting colder," she said simply. "You should eat something warm." She walked away before he could refuse, never looking back to see. The way his hands trembled as he reached for the meal, or how he watched her disappear into the snowy night. That boy was Ethan Cole, and that moment would connect their lives in ways neither could have imagined. Present day, Amelia Bennett strode through the glass-walled executive floor of Summit Technologies, her renewable energy company's Denver headquarters. At 42, she commanded attention. Honey blonde hair swept into a sophisticated updo, tailored navy suit projecting authority without sacrificing femininity. Employees straightened as she passed, her reputation for brilliant innovation matched only by her exacting standards. "The Morgan proposal is ready for your review and legal needs your signature on the patent applications," her assistant reported, struggling to keep pace. "Also, your daughter's school called again." Amelia stopped abruptly. "Riley, what happened?" "Third time this month," she skipped her afternoon classes. The timing couldn't have been worse. Summit was on the verge of securing a government contract worth billions, but a rival company had been making aggressive moves to undermine them. The board meeting in 15 minutes would determine their strategy moving forward. "Reschedule the meeting, tell them it's a family emergency," Amelia instructed, already heading for the elevator. Her assistant's surprise was palpable. Amelia Bennett never postponed meetings, especially not for personal matters. 20 minutes later, Amelia found Riley in the school counselor's office, 16 years old with her mother's sharp features softened by youth, dark hair falling in carefully casual waves. The defiance in her posture spoke volumes. The drive home was thick with tension. "You can't keep doing this, Riley," Amelia began. "Why not? It's not like you notice when I'm actually at school," Riley shot back, eyes fixed on her phone. "That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you made it to one of my volleyball games, or asked about anything besides my grades?" The words stung because they carried truth. Since the divorce 3 years ago, Amelia had thrown herself into Summit Technologies with renewed intensity. The company was her creation, her legacy, but at what cost? That evening, after Riley retreated to her room, Amelia worked in her home office, reviewing proposals for the government contract. A notification popped up on her screen. New email. The subject line was blank, the sender unfamiliar. She opened it and felt her blood turn to ice. Photos of Riley entering school, at a coffee shop with friends, even inside their home. The message was clear. "We can reach what you value most." Hands shaking, Amelia called the police. The detective reviewed the evidence with practiced detachment. "Sophisticated work," he noted. "Not your typical stalker. I'd recommend private security while we investigate. Someone to watch your daughter, specifically." Through her network, Amelia secured a meeting with a security specialist the following day. Expecting someone imposing and overconfident, she was surprised when Ethan Cole arrived. Unassuming in a simple charcoal suit, speaking little but observing everything. At 38, he carried himself with quiet confidence, close-cropped dark hair showing hints of premature gray at the temples, a faint scar along his jawline, the only distinctive feature in his otherwise forgettable appearance. His resume was solid if unremarkable, military service followed by private security work. Yet something about his steady gray eyes, the way he assessed the room in seconds, the precision of his few questions, it all suggested capabilities beyond the page. "Why should I trust my daughter's safety to you?" Amelia asked directly. "Because I'll notice what others miss," he replied. "And because I have nothing to prove, Miss Bennett. The people who need to impress you are usually the ones who'll fail when it matters." His frankness was refreshing after a parade of candidates who promised the impossible. Amelia made her decision. "When can you start?" "Immediately." Riley was furious about having a babysitter, as she called him, when Ethan moved into the guest house on their estate. "This is ridiculous. I don't need some creepy guy following me around." "He's not following you, he's protecting you," Amelia corrected. "And it's temporary, just until the police find whoever sent those threats." "Right, because your precious company is more important than my privacy." What neither of them knew was that Ethan had recognized Amelia immediately during their first meeting. The memories had flooded back as he watched her from a distance. 20 years ago, him at 18, starving outside a diner where she worked, her unexpected kindness providing not just food but dignity when he needed it most. He'd enlisted in the army the very next day. Now, through contacts from his classified military past, he'd discovered someone had placed a contract on her life, and he'd positioned himself as her family's protector to repay a debt she didn't even remember. Riley was determined to make Ethan quit. Her methods grew increasingly creative, ditching him at the mall, creating embarrassing scenes in public, treating him with open contempt. To her frustration, nothing seemed to faze him. When she slammed doors, he remained impassive. When she accidentally spilled coffee on his jacket, he simply cleaned it without comment. His calm persistence was maddening. Amelia struggled to balance her demanding role as CEO with mounting concerns for Riley's safety. She was frustrated by Ethan's minimal communication. His daily reports were brief and clinical. After a week of this, she confronted him in the kitchen late one evening. "I need more than no security incidents in your reports, Mr. Cole. I'm paying you to protect my daughter, not to be a ghost." Ethan measured his response carefully. "Your daughter is testing boundaries. It's normal, especially given recent changes in her life." "What's that supposed to mean?" "She feels invisible in your world. The rebellion is asking for attention, even negative attention." Amelia bristled. "You're overstepping. You were hired for security, not family therapy." "Security isn't just physical, Ms. Bennett. It's understanding motivations, hers and those who might wish to harm her." His voice remained even, his expression neutral. "When people feel seen, they're easier to protect." The observation lingered with Amelia long after he left. She found herself watching Riley at breakfast the next morning, really seeing her for the first time in months, the dark circles under her eyes, the nervous way she checked her phone, how she'd grown taller without Amelia noticing. Meanwhile, Ethan conducted his own investigation into the threats. Using contacts from his Delta Force days, information not in the background file Amelia had received, he discovered the threats were connected to Summit's upcoming government contract. Alexander Mercer, CEO of rival energy company Meridian Power, had made veiled comments in industry circles about Amelia's impending change of priorities. Ethan increased security measures without alarming Amelia, installing additional systems and conducting reconnaissance around their regular locations. The tension peaked when Riley convinced a friend to help her slip away from a school fundraiser. Ethan, anticipating the attempt, tracked her to a house party in a questionable neighborhood. When he arrived, he found her cornered by 3 older men with predatory intentions. For the first time, Riley witnessed Ethan's true capabilities, as he efficiently neutralized the threat without excessive force, his military training briefly visible beneath his calm exterior. On the drive home, a shaken Riley asked how he learned to fight like that. "Previous security work," he answered vaguely. "That wasn't just some rent-a-cop move," she pressed. "Those guys were huge, and you barely even looked worried." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Size isn't everything. Technique matters more. Riley studied him with new interest. You're not what you seem, are you? The question hung between them, unanswered, but changing something fundamental in their dynamic. Amelia, furious about the incident, confronted both Riley and Ethan when they arrived home. What were you thinking? She demanded of her daughter. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? Maybe if you were ever around, I wouldn't need to escape, Riley shouted back. That's enough, Ethan interjected, his quiet voice somehow cutting through their argument. Ms. Bennett, your daughter is safe. That's what matters right now. Don't tell me how to parent my child, Amelia snapped, her fear manifesting as anger. I'm not, he replied steadily. But punishment won't address why she left in the first place. Something in his tone, the authority behind his words, made Amelia pause. This wasn't the deferential employee she'd hired. There was something about Ethan that didn't align with his background file. Something in his eyes when he spoke that suggested deeper experience than his resume indicated. Summit Technologies faced escalating problems in the following weeks. A data breach exposed proprietary technology, and rumors circulated questioning the company's financial stability. The stock price plummeted. Amelia worked relentlessly to contain the damage, increasingly convinced these attacks were coordinated with the threats against her family. At home, the dynamics shifted subtly. Riley, still rebellious but less hostile toward Ethan, began asking him questions about his life. He shared carefully edited stories from his military days, omitting the classified operations, but including enough truth to be authentic. Riley gradually opened up about her own struggles, feeling pressured by her mother's success, missing her father despite his flaws, the challenges of being the daughter of a powerful woman. Everyone expects me to be like her, Riley confessed one afternoon as Ethan drove her home from volleyball practice. Perfect grades, perfect future, perfect everything. And what do you want? He asked. The question seemed to surprise her. No one's ever really asked me that before. Ethan nodded. People see the reflection of their expectations. Makes it hard to see yourself sometimes. Is that why you make yourself so invisible, so people won't have expectations? The insight was unexpected from a 16-year-old. Ethan considered his answer carefully. Sometimes being underestimated is an advantage. Amelia noticed the developing rapport between her daughter and Ethan with mixed feelings. Grateful for the positive influence, but uncertain about the strange connection forming. During a rare family dinner, Amelia observed how Ethan's presence had changed the atmosphere in their home. For the first time in years, Riley engaged in real conversation, even laughing. Something about Ethan's calm presence created a space where both mother and daughter could lower their defenses. Riley mentioned you were in Afghanistan, Amelia said, watching him carefully. For a time, he acknowledged. She seems to think you are some kind of special forces hero. A flicker of something crossed his face. Discomfort, perhaps, or caution. The military teaches good security protocols. That's all. Before she could press further, Amelia's phone chimed with an email notification. Her face paled as she opened it. Photos of her and Riley taken inside their home, despite the upgraded security. The message, final warning. That night, as Amelia worked late in her home office, she heard movement from the security room Ethan had established in a converted study. Investigating, she found him reviewing footage with an intensity and expertise that seemed beyond standard bodyguard training. Multiple screens displayed camera feeds, building schematics, and what appeared to be personnel files of Meridian Power executives. What is all this? She demanded from the doorway. Ethan didn't flinch at her sudden appearance, another clue that his awareness exceeded normal parameters. Threat assessment, he answered, minimizing several screens, but not before she glimpsed military tactical notation in his notes. This looks like more than standard security work, Mr. Cole. The threat against you isn't standard either. He turned to face her fully. Someone with significant resources wants you distracted or removed before the government contract is finalized. They've hired professionals with military or intelligence backgrounds. How could you possibly know that? His eyes met hers steadily. The methods they're using, the precision of their surveillance. This isn't corporate espionage, it's something more personal. Before she could question him further, her phone rang, reporting that her car wouldn't start. The next morning, mechanics discovered the brake lines had been tampered with. Ethan, anticipating such an attack, had installed additional safety features without her knowledge and arranged for her regular driver to be replaced by one of his contacts. When she demanded answers about how he predicted the attack, he revealed only that the patterns matched techniques he'd seen before. The partial truth was frustrating, but his effectiveness was undeniable. That evening, after Riley was safely asleep, Amelia received a video call from Alexander Mercer, CEO of rival energy company Meridian Power. With calculated charm, the silver-hailed executive expressed concern over the troubles plaguing Summit Technologies. "Such unfortunate incidents," he said, examining his manicured nails. "The market can be so volatile for companies with, shall we say, leadership distractions." "What do you want, Alexander?" Amelia kept her voice even, though her hands clenched beneath the desk. "Merely to offer a solution. Withdraw from the government contract bidding, transfer your storage technology patents to Meridian as part of a generous acquisition package, and these unfortunate coincidences will cease." His smile never reached his eyes. "Think of Riley, Amelia. Some things are more important than business, aren't they?" The implied threat confirmed Ethan's suspicions about the source of danger. What neither realized was that Mercer had a personal connection to Ethan's past. He once funded the covert operation that went wrong and left Ethan's team members dead, a classified fact buried deep in Pentagon files. The threats escalated when Riley was nearly abducted from school the following week. Ethan, who had been watching from a distance, thwarted the attempt with precision that went well beyond standard security training, taking down 3 professional operatives while ensuring Riley's safety. In the aftermath, as police questioned them, Riley mentioned seeing one of the men at a recent charity gala hosted by Meridian Power. Later that evening, as Amelia reviewed security footage from the incident, she noticed Ethan's tactical movements. Methodical, efficient, clearly military trained. She began researching his background more thoroughly and discovered his security company was established only 3 years ago, with minimal history before that. Confronting him in the guest house, she demanded the truth. "Who are you really, Ethan Cole? Because the man I saw in that footage isn't just some bodyguard." Before he could answer, the estate's perimeter alarms triggered. Armed intruders had breached the grounds. Ethan immediately switched to operational mode, revealing specialized equipment hidden throughout the property. "Panic room, now," he ordered, all pretense of being an ordinary security consultant gone. "They've cut the main power. We have 3 minutes before the backup generator triggers the silent alarm." As he efficiently secured Riley in a panic room concealed behind her closet, Amelia witnessed the transformation. The unassuming bodyguard became a precision weapon, his every movement reflecting years of elite training. "Stay here until I come back with the all-clear phrase, Denver, snowfall. Anyone else, anything else. You keep this door locked." Moving through the darkened house, Ethan and Amelia encountered 2 intruders in the main hallway. The ensuing confrontation was brief and violent, Ethan neutralizing both men with practiced efficiency. But a third attacker emerged from the shadows, firing a shot that caught Ethan in the shoulder as he pushed Amelia to safety. Despite the injury, Ethan managed to disable the third intruder just as backup security arrived. As the immediate danger passed, Amelia insisted on treating his wound herself, rather than risking a hospital report that might alert Mercer's people to his condition. In the kitchen, as she cleaned the bullet graze with steady hands, she noticed distinctive military tattoos partially obscured by scar tissue on his shoulder. "Delta Force," she read, recognizing the insignia. "Your special forces." Weakened from blood loss and the adrenaline crash, Ethan's careful facade cracked. He murmured about a sandwich and coffee on a cold Denver night years ago, a memory surfacing through the pain. Amelia's hands stilled. "What did you say?" "Outside Dottie's diner," he said, eyes finding focus on her face. "You were a waitress, gave me your tip money. Turkey sandwich, coffee, apple pie." Recognition dawned slowly. "That was you? The boy in the alley?" Ethan nodded, wincing as she resumed cleaning his wound. Enlisted the next day. Your kindness. It changed everything. Why didn't you tell me when I hired you? Would you have believed me? He grimaced as she applied antiseptic. Besides, after recognizing you in the security request, I discovered the sophisticated nature of the threat against you. My former commanding officer helped me establish a cover to protect you without raising suspicions. So you've been lying this entire time. Sometimes the best protection is being underestimated, he explained. If they knew who was guarding you, they'd send different caliber operatives. This way I had the advantage of surprise. The revelation created a profound shift in how Amelia saw Ethan. No longer just an employee, but someone whose life intersected with hers in ways neither could have predicted. A simple act of kindness had rippled through 2 decades, bringing him back into her life at the moment she needed him most. In the days that followed, the dynamic between Amelia and Ethan transformed. She struggled with the knowledge that she'd been unknowingly connected to this man for 20 years. Ethan, having revealed part of his identity, still maintained careful boundaries, his protective instincts now complicated by growing personal feelings he hadn't experienced since before his military service. Riley, shaken by the attack but impressed by Ethan's protection, began to see her mother differently after learning how Amelia had helped Ethan years ago. You never told me you worked at a diner, she said one morning at breakfast. It was a lifetime ago, Amelia replied. College was expensive and my parents couldn't help much. So you were like, what, a superhero waitress by night, student by day? Amelia laughed, the sound surprising them both. Hardly, just a tired girl trying to make ends meet. But you still helped him, even though you needed the money yourself. Riley's observation carried a new understanding of her mother's character. Sometimes we make choices in a moment that echo much longer than we expect, Amelia said, her gaze drifting to where Ethan stood at the perimeter of the property, phone to his ear as he coordinated with his security team. As they developed a new security plan, Amelia and Ethan worked closely together. Professional discussions gradually gave way to more personal conversations. Ethan shared carefully edited stories of his military service, the brotherhood, the sense of purpose, and eventually, the operation that went wrong. We were set up, he explained late one night as they reviewed security footage. Intelligence was compromised. We walked into an ambush in a village outside Kandahar. 3 of my team didn't make it out. I'm sorry, Amelia said softly. The mission was Black Ops, officially sanctioned but publicly deniable. Afterward, they buried the report. No accountability, no investigation, just a footnote in a classified file. His voice remained controlled, but tension radiated from him. The funding for the operation came through private channels. Took me years to trace it back to a shell company owned by Meridian Power. Mercer, Amelia breathed. That's why he recognized you during the surveillance. And why he escalated when he realized I was protecting you? This isn't just about the government contract anymore. It's personal for him, too. Amelia revealed her own struggles, building her company while trying to be a good mother, the pain of her failed marriage, her fear of vulnerability. After the divorce, I threw myself into Summit. It was the one thing I couldn't fail at, the one place where I had complete control. And Riley became the collateral damage of my ambition. Amelia's admission was painful but honest. I convinced myself I was building a legacy for her, but I was really just avoiding the harder work of being present. During a rare evening when Riley was at a friend's house with additional security, Amelia and Ethan shared a quiet dinner. The professional barriers between them momentarily dropped as they discussed their different journeys from that first encounter outside the diner. I've always wondered what happened to that boy, Amelia admitted. Whether the food made any difference. It wasn't just the food, Ethan said quietly. It was being seen as a person, not a problem. You didn't pity me or lecture me, you just helped. Their eyes met across the table, the connection deepening. Both recognized something in the other that resonated. 2 people who'd built walls of competence around emotional wounds. The moment was interrupted by an alert on Ethan's phone. Riley's location tracker had gone offline. The connection shattered as they rushed back into crisis mode, all personal feelings subordinated to the immediate threat. Despite all precautions, Mercer's operatives had managed to abduct Riley during what should have been a secure school event. The message arrived within the hour. Amelia must withdraw from the contract bidding and transfer her company's key technology patents to Meridian Power. Devastated and terrified, Amelia prepared to give Mercer everything he wanted. Ethan, however, activated his former Delta Force network. Within hours, his former commanding officer arrived with specialized equipment and intelligence support. For the first time, Amelia saw the full extent of Ethan's world. These elite operators who moved like shadows and spoke in tactical shorthand. Satellite imaging shows increased activity at Meridian's research facility outside Denver, reported Jackson, Ethan's former second-in-commander. The facility is ostensibly developing renewable energy storage, but the security protocols suggest military-grade operations. They developed an extraction plan, but Amelia insisted on being involved. It was her daughter, her fight. After initial resistance, Ethan recognized her determination and agreed to include her with specific, limited responsibilities. Your corporate credentials can get us through the first layer of security, he explained, outlining her role. But once we're inside, you follow my lead exactly. Riley's life depends on perfect execution. As they prepared, Amelia confronted the possibility of failure. In a moment of vulnerability, she told Ethan that, regardless of the outcome, she was grateful their paths had crossed again. The unspoken feelings between them hovered in the air, neither willing to articulate them, with Riley's life at stake. The operation began at dusk, using Amelia's corporate knowledge to bypass initial security protocols. The team infiltrated the facility. When complications arose, an unexpected biometric scanner. Amelia proved her worth, quick thinking and surprisingly steady under pressure. She convinced a Meridian employee she was there for an emergency meeting with Mercer, creating the distraction needed for Ethan's team to access the restricted area. They located Riley in a secure room on the third floor, sedated but unharmed. As they prepared to extract her, they were confronted by Mercer himself, accompanied by armed security. "I'm disappointed, Amelia," Mercer said, his cultivated charm replaced by cold calculation. "I offered you a clean way out. Now things will get unnecessarily messy." His gaze shifted to Ethan. "Sergeant Cole. Or is it Captain now? Hard to keep track when the records have been adjusted." "You remember me," Ethan stated flatly. "How could I forget the sole survivor of Operation Blackfish? The one loose end from a very expensive mistake." Mercer's smile was reptilian. "When my security team identified you protecting Ms. Bennett, I knew Providence had finally delivered justice." The confrontation revealed the final twist. Mercer had been the anonymous benefactor behind the operation that killed Ethan's teammates years ago. The intelligence failure hadn't been accidental. It had been engineered to field test Meridian's experimental surveillance technology. "Your friends died for progress, Captain Cole. Their sacrifice advanced our capabilities by years." "They died because you played war games with real soldiers," Ethan responded, his controlled rage palpable. In the ensuing standoff, Mercer revealed a prototype weapon developed through the company's black-budget operations. A focused sonic device capable of incapacitating targets without physical contact. As he activated it, Ethan placed himself between the weapon and Amelia, prepared to sacrifice himself. In that crucial moment, Riley, who had regained consciousness during the confrontation, created a distraction by triggering a fire alarm. The momentary chaos allowed Ethan to disarm Mercer, while Amelia used her self-defense training to disable one of the guards. As security forces closed in, Mercer made a final desperate attempt to kill Amelia. Drawing a concealed handgun, the gunshot that opened our story rang out, with Ethan taking the bullet meant for her. As he collapsed, bleeding, his whispered words connected back to the beginning. "Worth it. Just like that sandwich 20 years ago." Emergency services arrived minutes later, with police securing the facility and paramedics rushing Ethan to the hospital. Evidence recovered during Riley's rescue, including Mercer's explicit confession, captured on Ethan's concealed recording device, exposed Meridian's illegal weapons development and the truth behind Operation Blackfish. 3 months later, Summit Technologies successfully secured the government contract. Mercer faced federal charges for corporate espionage, kidnapping, and his role in the deaths of American soldiers. Meridian Power underwent restructuring under federal oversight, its weapons development program dismantled. Ethan, recovered from his injury but with permanent damage to his shoulder, sat on the terrace of Amelia's home. He watched as Amelia and Riley prepared dinner together, their relationship transformed by shared trauma and newfound understanding. The easy conversation between mother and daughter reflected their healed connection. Riley had matured from the experience, her perspective on privilege and responsibility fundamentally shifted. She'd started a program at her school to support veterans, inspired by Ethan and his former teammates who helped rescue her. The school board approved the initiative, she announced, joining Ethan on the terrace. "We'll have funding for the Veterans Mentorship Program starting next semester." "Proud of you," he said simply. "I never thanked you properly," Riley said after a moment. "Not just for the rescue, but for helping me see Mom differently, for making us a family again." Inside, Amelia watched them through the kitchen window, struck by how natural they seemed together. The daughter she'd almost lost, and the man who'd saved them both in more ways than one. Later, as twilight settled over the mountains, Amelia approached Ethan with a proposal. Summit was establishing a security division focused on protecting renewable energy infrastructure, and she wanted him to head it. The position would utilize his expertise while allowing him to build something constructive after years of warfare. More importantly, it would keep him in their lives. "You don't have to give me a job to keep me around," he said, reading between the lines of her carefully constructed business proposal. "Is that what I'm doing?" Her professional facade slipped, revealing the vulnerability beneath. "I think you know exactly what you're doing, Amelia. You always have." For the first time, he used her first name, the shift significant between them. As they discussed possibilities, Ethan reflected on the strange circularity of their connection. How a simple act of kindness 20 years ago created ripples neither could have anticipated. Amelia acknowledged that hiring him as Riley's bodyguard had unintentionally brought healing to their broken family unit. "Some debts can never be repaid," she said softly. "Then maybe we stop trying to balance the ledger," he suggested, "and just accept that our lives are connected now." The story concluded with Ethan joining Amelia and Riley for dinner, no longer an employee or protector, but family in the truest sense. As Riley teased them about their obvious feelings for each other, Amelia reached for Ethan's hand under the table. Their fingers intertwined, both finally allowing themselves to embrace the unexpected connection that began with a sandwich and coffee on a cold Denver night 2 decades ago. The final scene showed Ethan teaching Riley self-defense in the garden while Amelia watched from her home office window. The former soldier had found peace, the driven CEO had remembered the importance of connection, and the rebellious teenager had discovered the strength that comes from genuine family bonds. 3 broken people had formed something whole, a legacy of healing that began with a simple